What's up, Black Comic Lord fam? Welcome to another monthly edition of StormWatch with Murewa Ayodele. This is episode 2 of StormWatch. What's up, everybody? Guys,
we're good,
are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Wonderful.
We got Antoine Dodson. Hello. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
You're a little under the weather, right?
Yeah, I was recovering from an upper respiratory infection, but I'm here and I'm good. I'm through the worst of it. So, yes.
All right.
We got important work to do, so I'm pushing through.
Thank you for being the soldier. Murewa Ayodele, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for being here, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being here.
Thank you for having you. It's your show. I'm just here showing. I'll just show up and push buttons. And we have a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Tom Brevoort, editor extraordinaire of Marvel and all things. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Tom, is that a original spinner rack I see behind you?
It is an actual scene service back in the 70s and 80s. Genuine vintage spinner rack, yes. Okay,
your cool points have now gone astronomical with me.
Well, thank you very much.
What do you have on that? I see Shield. What do you got on that? Thor.
Honestly, everything on this rack is duplicates and extras of things, so it's a really weird mix. So there's a bunch of Thors. That's an issue of Avengers, the first Vision, an ancient copy of Jimmy Olsen, an issue of Daredevil, and then around the side, a giant-sized Man-Thing and some Commandy, Shield, a bunch of Shield books, as you talked about, the Defiant Universe Primer, Amethyst, and some Cloak and Dagger. There's Avengers down here. It's got a whole slew of just different extra copies of things that I've ended up with over the years. So it's a display piece, and I rotate it like once a week and switch the stock around.
Okay, I am not going to insult you by asking you if you stuck facsimiles on that rack, because that would be
there are a couple. Honestly, there are a couple. Just because I happen to have them. There's a Captain America issue down there that came with an action figure. I think I cracked the action figure out of the plastic, and it had the copy of the comic, but I own the original comic, so I didn't need a second one, so it goes on the rack.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Nice.
All right. Well, Tom, we're going to start with you because you're our special guest.
Well, thank you.
Why don't we start by asking, what is an editor?
Well, the typical explanation that I give is that the editor is like the coach and the manager of a ball club, which is to say, I don't suit up and go out and play on the field. I don't play the game, but I choose who gets to go play the game. I can put them in whatever position I want. I can call for a particular play if there's a need. I can swap somebody out off the field. And I'm responsible for making sure that the team gets to where it needs to be on time, ready to play, ready to do what they do, and then gets to the next stadium after they're done there. So it's kind of like that. I'm the behind the scenes mastermind, making sure that all the guys actually doing the work can do the best work that they can do, and that the books actually come out when they're supposed to, more or less.
Is it true that the editors are really kind of the ones who are running the storylines at Marvel? Well, and all companies, actually. I mean, it's not just a Marvel thing, but in general, yeah.
Yes and no. I'm involved creatively with every book that I work on, but I don't think I'm making those books. It's the people who are doing. I mean, and again, Murewa, tell me if I'm wrong. But everything that's in Storm, for the most part, is something that you came up with, not something that I came up with. I've made suggestions about stuff. Let's start here. I want to do this kind of book. We want to go in kind of this direction. But within that, you pitch me stuff, and I usually respond to it and go, well, this and that, or maybe this could be different, or I think we're not paying attention to this or whatever. And then we go back and forth, and it gets revised until we're all happy, and then we move forward. So it's not like I'm always demanding. That said, I can call a play if I want to, and every once in a while I go, oh, we're going to have an X-Men crossover in this month. So here's what we're doing this month. Everybody has to be in the pool together, and we got to work out how we're going to do this. But even then, usually the idea for what that crossover is came from somebody, came from one of the writers or one of the creative talent that's working on the stuff. So it's not even like I'm just kind of waking up one morning and going, they should fight Apocalypse. Let's do that this month. It's a little more freeform than that.
Well, I mean, look, your name is associated with some of the biggest stories and some of the best stories Marvel's ever done.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's I'm not being nice. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, facts are facts. I mean, when you work on when I'm flipping through Civil War and it says edited by Tom Brevoort, Secret Invasion, Secret War, these are some of the biggest storylines Marvel's done and some of the best storylines Marvel's ever done. So your resume is strong. But let me ask you this question. Having served well over 2 decades in the Avengers office, and now you've moved over to the X office, why do you think there's always a constant clash between Avengers fandom and X fandom? It sometimes seems it even comes off like the creators working on the books aren't particularly, close to each other. Like, I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we say in this space, or not just when I'm going on Twitter and I'm seeing people's comments and stuff, there's always like the X offices. And it's always like people view the X offices as like these super snobs at Marvel. And there's X offices, and there's the rest of you little plebeians in the X offices. There's X, and then there's everyone else. Talk about that.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with as fans of stuff, people like to root for teams, whatever their team or whatever their group is. And so if you came in as an X-Men fan, on just boiling it down to the most basic core concept of those two properties, Avengers is about effectively being the man. They're the big guns. They're the heavy hitters. They're the front line. Like it or not, they're the authority. And the X-Men, by nature, are the counterculture. They're the underdogs. They're the minority or the downtrodden or the underappreciated. So of course there's going to be a certain tension between those two things. And it's not to say that an X character can't be on the Avengers. And it's a little harder for an Avenger to be in the X-Men. Every once in a while, people will ask me, well, why can't you have Captain America in the X-Men? And the answer is it's kind of weird to have Captain America on the X-Men because he doesn't share the point of view, the demographic. He is not a mutant for all that he's got weird super soldier serum in him, and he can do a bunch of stuff that ordinary people can't. It's not his experience, so it's weird to have him there on a regular basis. He can certainly guest star. He can certainly hang out and have adventures side by side with, Wolverine or Cyclops or whomever, but it's just not his viewpoint. And so that too, I think, puts people at odds. Also, there's as readers, as fans, as we talk about the stories, we talk about them kind of from within the world of the stories. Like if you're reading X-Men and you love X-Men, you're in it with those people. You spend the whole 20 pages inside their heads and fighting the fight alongside them. And so I'll hear things like, well, why don't the Avengers do more to help out the cause of mutants and so forth? And that's a good question kind of from the inside. From the outside, the answer is because if I'm doing an issue of Avengers, I need that to be focused on Avengers business and not X-Men business. And so there's always a little bit of latitude there where you can do something, but it's just not, that perspective or that point of view is not so universal. I need Spider-Man comics to be about Spider-Man, whether that's Peter or Miles, and whatever they're dealing with and going through. And they shouldn't spend a lot of time talking about Daredevil's problems, because those are Daredevil's problems. Also, when we did AVX years ago, Nick Lowe was editing the X-Men, and Nick Lowe is just an awful person. And so he and I, started up a little rivalry and a little back and forth in those days, and we just kind of never stopped. So even today, he's not, now I'm on X and he's doing Spider-Man, and I still don't like him. I don't think he's any good. He does some good comics. He puts some good things together. Everybody gets lucky sometimes, but and so some of that is all just the kind of the performance of it all, because if you're reading something like Avengers versus X-Men, it's fun to pull for your teams, and it's fun to get into it with fans on the other side. That's all kind of part of the experience of the comic community, I think.
I'm going. That's funny. Here's the thing. We have some hot topics. So I'm gonna bring up some hot topics for you, because I would be remiss in my duties here at Black Comic Lords if I can. I was thumbing through some Marvel comics recently, yesterday, and I saw the tribute to John Cassidy, who is a phenomenal artist, a great loss. From his work on X-Men with Josh Whedon, stuff with Lone Ranger. Just
sure,
the guy's a phenomenal artist. He's a tremendous loss. But I was having me remember that in that time period, we still haven't. There was another loss that we suffered in the comic book community, that of Mark D. Bright. And, DC did a one-page tribute to him. He's done a lot of work for Marvel. Much of what you can see on the screen there, Captain Marvel, Falcon. He's done Transformers, G.I. Joe, Captain America. He's done a lot of stuff for Marvel. And yet Marvel still hasn't cranked out a tribute to a guy who's literally a legend. He even worked on Iron Man during Armor Wars, which Marvel the MCU has a television series apparently they're working on that's based on his work. You have any idea as to why Marvel hasn't done a tribute on him yet, or do you know if there's one coming anytime soon?
Apart from what might have been done in a book here or there, that was more, that Doc Bright paid was more related to, I don't know. We do those sorts of tributes when creators pass who had a big impact on the field, and it's not like MD Bright didn't do significant work for Marvel. But I think when you look over his career as a whole, the stuff that people really remember him for, and I could be wrong about this, it's more stuff he did for other companies. He did work for Marvel, but his runs, he was not on books for long enough to really be seen as like this is your guy. Iron Man is probably his biggest credit, those Armor Wars issues, and those were terrific. And that's nothing against his work, and it's nothing against the man, but we have different levels that we do these things at. We want to accord everybody their respect, but not everybody is John Cassidy.
Well, I can't say I necessarily agree that his body of work at Marvel isn't noteworthy enough to deserve recognition, but I appreciate the fact that you at least gave us an answer on that, because that's something that we've been asking ourselves and posting the Marvel for a while, and it is something that really bothers our community. Moving on.
I can understand that. Like, I don't want to make light of it or brush it off either. And I've worked with Doc Bright a little bit. He did like maybe one or two small things for me, but I really know him mostly through his buddy Chris Priest. And so I think it's also, to some degree, it's who's still around in the companies that had relationships with and feels like they really feel it. With Cassaday, he was working at Marvel, within months, if not slightly years, before his passing, but he'd had a lot of interaction with a lot of people. And so it was very easy for people to go, oh, we clearly need to remember Cass here and do something for his memory, because he was such a big part of Marvel, and he had all of this storied runs and so forth. And for somebody that had not been around as much in more recent years, I think the last thing I remember MD Bright doing for Marvel was Marvel, and that was 25 years ago. So people don't immediately have the same level of reaction. I'm sure, because we do it with just about anybody who passes. I'm sure we did stuff on marvel.com and through social media and so forth. But again, I don't know that this is a fact. This is me speculating based on what I know of how we operate. It may just be a case where, it's unfortunate, but there was nobody there that really championed, giving Bright a page, or had that strong feeling that made us go, okay, we got to get that done.
Who makes those decisions? Is it the editorial board, or
technically it ultimately comes down to the what we call the senior staff. So the publisher, the head of ops, head of our sales group, top editors, and so forth.
Well, as I said, I can't say I agree with that assessment, but I understand it. So as I said, moving on, one of the things that's also popped up is the idea of, we're doing this Great Storm book. There was let me pull this up. Here it is. Yeah, there was this post I guess it was an interview or something that was done regarding a quote from you. And I don't want to be misquoted. I know sometimes quotes are only as good as the context that they're done in. So I wanted you to have the opportunity to explain this quote from you about there's not enough viable black male characters in the X-Men. This is from a few months ago, I guess.
Yeah, I think I probably looked at that article when it came out, but I haven't looked at it since. So I don't know what its perspective is or what they take of what that quote was. My point of view and what I was expressing, I think it was a tweet even. I don't even think it was in an article or an interview or anywhere, is that I don't think there are enough strong black male characters in the X-Men line. And I think we need more. And, that's, I didn't think that was a controversial position, but, some people, I guess, took it to mean there aren't enough viable black male characters in the X-Men, so we shouldn't use any, or we shouldn't, have any of them. And that's 100% the opposite of what I was talking about.
I think that's exactly how people interpreted it.
And again, not to cast aspersions, but some of these sites will tend to frame your words in the worst possible light, so as to get people to read and engage and click and if you can get people riled up with that, it's very easy to get them to get the reaction that you want out of it. I think we need, when I took over X-Men, and I looked over kind of the playing field, the board. One of the things I felt were there are not enough cool black male mutant characters, X characters, and what that means is we need to create more of them. And so we're gonna try to be doing that. It's, in fairness, it's not the only thing I'm going to be trying to do. There's a lot of things you have to do to run the X line, obviously. But I put that to our various writers, a bunch of months back, and hopefully that will continue to bear fruit as we move forward. But I think it's a place where we're weak and we could be stronger, and I want us to be stronger. That having been said, I don't want to create a bunch of random black characters just cause, and I'd rather those characters feel legitimate and be right and have a reason for being, just like any other character that we put forward. But it's a deficit, and it's a problem, because we have, as your show speaks to, we have a huge black audience, and you guys deserve to see more people that look like you in our books in a heroic role.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I appreciate you stating that, because I agree with what you said. But here's the thing. There was a study done. There's a website that I'd encourage you guys to check out, called worldofblacksuperheroes.com. And I think if you literally put in the search bar black mutants, it comes up with something crazy like 300 black mutants in the Marvel universe, in just the Marvel universe. So there's more. I agree with the statement that you make wholeheartedly. I don't want to just create a bunch of random black characters just to create them. It's not necessary. Marvel's got 300 in their database already. It's just a matter of taking them off the shelf, dusting them off, put a new coat of paint on them, and do some worthy stories that give them agency, that are worthwhile. We have this phrase that we talk about all the time, that Marvel can make anybody famous because look what they did with the raccoon. They turned him into an international superstar.
Sure, and I don't really disagree with that. The one thing that I would say is, in order to do that and do that properly, you need somebody that's invested in doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Me going to a random writer and going, I need you to take this character and use them and do something with them. If they want the check, they're gonna do what I want, but they're not going to be into it. I need people that are invested in the characters that they're writing, and who want to use these characters. And so again, when I talk about viable, characters, I'm talking about effectively, headliner, front-facing, characters that can carry their own book in the way Storm can, and the way Bishop often has, the way Sunspot maybe could. But when you get down to that list of 300, a lot of them are, like so many mutants who are popular with, a slice of the audience who, grew up reading their stories, but over the course of time they didn't stick. They have not had that story, that moment, that inspiration that's made them really pop and made them really ascend to that next level. In some ways, that's kind of what we're trying to do with Storm right now. And it's not like Storm isn't kind of already at that level, but this whole initiative is about, can we push her to the next level? Can we make her, an icon, in a broader sense than just, she's the queen of the X-Men? Nope. It's got to be bigger than that. But it's easier to do that with Storm because a lot of people that came before us did a lot of the work for us already.
Yeah, I agree with you on the concept that you have to have writers that are passionate about certain characters to really bring them to life and do stories that are worthwhile. I noticed that when you became head of conductor of X, one of the cool things I saw you did, you hired some writers I really enjoy, Murewa being one of them, Eve Ewing being another, Jeffrey Thorne being another one. These are super talented writers that I was happy to see you bring on board the X train. But is it possible to do like a general? Here's a general question. It has nothing to do with race per se.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see at Marvel, and understand, I'm a longtime Marvel guy. The vast majority of my collection, dating back to the 1970s, is Marvel. I have a lot of comics. I'll just leave it at that. It's embarrassing. What I would love to see as a longtime Marvel reader is a directive at Marvel to all of its writers. I do not want you to use. I want you to take half of the characters you're using, push them to the side, and the other half of the characters you're going to use are characters that are not in the MCU. I want you to dig through the Marvel crates, dig through the databases, find some obscure characters, and make them relevant. Do some original stories with characters. It doesn't have to worry about creating new IP and those issues that are involved in that. Marvel already owns the rights to all these characters in the database. Just pick one, pick a few, and use those rather than ones that, and to newer readers to be like, wow, this is a brand new cool character I've never seen before. And it's like, this is just a character from 1977. We just haven't used it. I would love to see Marvel do something like that. Is that possible?
I don't know that it's possible 50%. And I do feel like we certainly scavenge characters from the back catalog and bring them back all the time. The flip side of that is the reason that we use a lot of characters that are popular and famous is because they're popular and famous and people want to read their comics.
Right, that's why I said only 50%. I'm never going to be silly and say get rid of all your characters tied to the MCU. That would shoot Marvel in its foot. I'm just saying, instead of worrying about,
we don't want the other guy. We don't want the other guy eating our lunch. We don't want the other guy eating our lunch.
Yeah, it's always going to be a balance, and so it's great when somebody can bring back a character and do something with them and make them suddenly more interesting and more popular and more relevant. Jed's done that with a couple of characters in his Moon Knight run that were just like, look, here are old obscure villains from other books and other things, and now they're fighting Moon Knight or hanging out with Moon Knight and being part of the Midnight Mission and so forth. And that's terrific when you can do it. But again, you kind of need the guys who are writing these stories to be invested in those characters. Certainly, it's probably, we're only 2 issues in, but it's no secret. Murewa pretty much wants to use every character of color that's in the X-Men area. And so routinely there is a sort of, well, I want to do something with this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and assuming that the book is successful and goes long enough, that'll happen. And that's kind of what you need for any obscuro character. Somebody to remember them and somebody to want to bring them back, or somebody to have a cool new take or spin on what they represent or what they could represent, how they could be used. So again, I think we do a certain amount of that. I don't know that it'd ever be 50% because, like I say, I'm a very practical, pragmatic man. And I know that if I don't sell comics, none of the other stuff happens. What happens is we turn the lights off and I have to get a real job, and that would suck. So there are always a lot of things, a lot of different goals and objectives and things that you want to achieve in doing this. But the foundational one is always sell comics, make money, because without that, none of the other stuff happens.
And so you got to find yourself the best writers to do that.
Yeah, you have to pick and choose your shots, and also you can try something and it may not work, but that doesn't mean it was a bad idea to try it or a failure. It just means it didn't work. We publish 70 comics a month. Not every one of them is going to be a home run. But hopefully some of them are surprising to people. Some of them connect with an audience today that maybe wouldn't have connected with them 5 or 10 years ago. Some of them are more relevant now. Some of them, you look at in a new way because some writer or some artist has got some new take or visualization on who they are and what they do and so forth. And that's, that also goes for new characters. I'm a big proponent of, don't just rest on the laurels of the people that came before you. Yeah, we have a library of whatever it is now, 9,000, 10,000 established characters, but I like new blood. I like characters that are of 2024 and 2025 more than are of 1977, because the world is a different place. And you almost have to do so much reinvention with some of those characters that you might as well build a new one that speaks to what you want to speak to today. There's fun in excavating a guy from 1977 and going, here, it's back now in a different context. And those of us that were around in 1977, like me and you, get a little fun itch going, I paid 30 cents for that guy's first story back in 1977. I've really earned a return on my investment. And that's super cool. But I want characters that are going to connect with people today and that they'll be thinking about 30 years from now. And I don't really care if it's a new character or if it's an older character that's brought back or an established character that's been around forever. If somebody has the greatest Wolverine story in the world, it's the greatest Wolverine story in the world. I sure want to read that.
I think Eclectic Blurty Nerdy has a great question for you on that point. Would you consider
that is a great question, and it's funny because literally on social media, I think it was on Blue Sky, on my train ride home tonight, Gail Simone was asking people for their weird, unpopular hot takes in the X world, and there was 200 or 300 responses. But Mike Choi, the artist, put forward that if you did a book kind of like what you're talking about here, everybody would say that they want it, and it would not sell well. And the reason it would not sell well is you want the version of it that's in your head. You have your 5 favorite obscure characters, and you think those are the 5 people that we're going to use. And in the 3rd issue, when we use somebody else that's on somebody else's list, you kind of go, I don't need to buy that one. I got only so much time and so much money. I don't need to buy that one. I can jump off. Call me when one of my favorites shows up in issue 4. Anthologies in general are just hard. I think it's more likely that we would do some sort of X-Men anthology book that would use a lot of characters, but I would tend to front load it up front, at least, with the most popular characters as a way of helping to sell it in, so that if you had if it was, say, 30 pages an issue and it's 3 10-page stories, and you've got, I'll say, Wolverine up front, and you've got somebody, a more solid established tier of X character in the middle, you could do something with somebody more off the beaten track in that 3rd slot and have an opportunity to play with some of those obscure or underused characters a little more. It's kind of what we're doing with the From the Ashes and now Astonishing X-Men, the Infinity comics on Marvel Unlimited, because those don't have to sell in the same way. We're feeling there's a lot more freedom there to do stories of a lot more off the beaten track things. We just did I think it was a 4-part, might have been 3, but I think it was a 4-part story on Lifeguard, who I'm pretty sure is nobody's favorite X character, but except there was a cool story for 4 issues, and it used a bunch of other characters that were also in the world, Ugly John and a couple of others, and it was a good story. And I couldn't have done that story as easily as a limited series or an anthology, because everybody would go, I don't need to read a Life Death comic this month. I'll save my $3 for some other comic that's sitting next to it on the rack that appeals to me more. It's kind of the both sides of the coin. To make the characters click and be more popular, you got to use them, but just going to them by themselves automatically is not enough to get people interested in them. In essence, if I want to make Lifeguard popular, I need to be using Life Death in other X-Men stories with other characters that people already love, and get you invested in what her deal is.
Are those Marvel digital unlimited comics? Are they considered canon?
Yes.
Yes.
So much
That's-
so that
that's-
we reflect them, and you'll see more stuff coming up as we get deeper into our books that'll reference things that happened over there. There've been a couple of things that we've already teased or shown there that get. I don't know if they'll get. I see the question here if they'll be printed in a trade. I don't know if they'll be in trade first. We are starting to reprint some of them as physical comics. So there's a book in. I'm going to say it's December. I could be off by a month, and it could be January because I don't have my charts and things here. But we're doing a book that's called X-Men Xavier's Secret, and it's the first 6 From the Ashes Infinite comics in print form. So if you don't happen to be on Marvel Unlimited, well, first of all, it's a really good deal, so you probably should look into it because
It really is.
you get a lot of content for not a lot of scratch. But if you just like having that physical comic, which I get, this will be a thing. And if that, sells decently enough, I'm sure we'll go, let's do more of these because we like to sell things. And these are already all mostly done. Like we don't even have to make them anymore. They're already made. We just have to make them fit into pages now. So yes, at least some of that material will make it into print. And if we end up doing 4 or 5 issues like that, then chances are we'll collect them as a trade because they'll all be there. It'll be easy.
My last question to you, and I'll turn it over to these guys here. What made you hire this guy, Murewa Ayodele and dotunakande, to join you over at Marvel at that I Am Iron Man? What did you see in their work that
it was actually before I Am Iron Man. The first place that I hired them for was I was doing a Moon Knight anthology.
Moon Knight. Yes, that's right.
Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, and it was a total fluke essentially. I'd just gotten that project approved, so now I had an anthology that I knew I was going to need a bunch of shorter Moon Knight stories for, and sometime that week, Murewa sent me an email saying I'm Murewa Ayodele. I do this these web comics with my partner Dotun, and here's a link to them, and we're really interested in Marvel and so forth. And I took a few minutes out during my day or my lunchtime or whatever, and I read however many installments were there at the link at that point of My Grandfather Was a God. And I thought, this is pretty cool. I wonder if they could do something interesting with Moon Knight, who's a guy that's connected to a god, so you can kind of make a thing. And so I reached out to them and said, hey, do you want to pitch a Moon Knight story? And they said, well, yes, we do. And then they did it. And then I think the second thing was I had an Iron Man anniversary. I think it was Iron Man 25. And that was going to be an oversized issue, and it was going to have a couple of backups. And I thought, maybe it even came up at some point that you and Dotun were big Iron Man fans, somewhere in the conversation or something. And I said, well, I've got a slot here. Do you want to do? Or honestly, you might have pitched me what became I Am Iron Man anyway.
Untold Tales of Iron Man.
Right. And I said, well, look, why don't we do one here? And we can use it as kind of a pilot and test it out and set it up, and then if it all works, I got something to point to go see. It'll be a series like this, and then we did I Am Iron Man. The real answer is the answer in every version of this question. Why did you hire that person? Because I saw something of their work that I liked, and I thought they could do the job. That's really it.
Might I strongly suggest that you guys give Dotun some variant covers to do on the series, or if Lucas needs to take a break for an issue, Dotun slide in, because man, his artwork is.
I love his artwork. He just did a cable cover for us.
Yeah.
I tell you, and being very upfront about this, I think it's good career-wise for both of them to do some work at Marvel that's not them always together, because establish themselves even more as individual talents. They're friends and partners, and they're always going to work together, and there's always going to be moments that they're working unified. But I want to change perception even internally among other editors or whatnot, that the only way you work with these guys is when they're working together. I want them to be able to do stuff. So having Doten do a cable cover when an opportunity came up is like, here's a chance to show what you can do in a different context. And so like in the same way that Murewa is writing Storm and a couple of other things that you don't know about yet unless he's told you all, in which case that's bad. Don't do that.
Absolutely told us nothing. Absolutely.
That's good. He can tell us some things, but not everything yet. In the same sort of way, like my next move would be to go, where can I get Doten onto a project with some other writer, simply because I want to change that perception. And it doesn't mean that I wouldn't put the two of them together again. I know that they're hungry to work with one another, and they're still working with one another on all the stuff that they're doing, independently and on their own. But I just think that in terms of, building some kind of career trajectory for both of these guys, it's important that people can look at them as individual creators and not, sort of a joined at the hip, two-headed beast that to get one, you got to get the other. Because I think that limits the number of opportunities that you get.
So you agree with me that Doten should be the artist on a Marvel Team Up X series starring Wolverine and a constantly changing second appearance person of people that are sort of off the rack X characters, and it should be written by either Steve Orlando or.
Well,
I'm just throwing it out there.
That's a very specific recipe, and I can look at that. All right.
Doten, I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. All right. You guys, what questions do you have? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dominate the conversation.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Just to give a little perspective from the writer's perspective too about black characters in the X office. You have Gil Simone creating a new black character in terms of Ransom, who is taking off real time, and you have me in Storm. We are going to be bringing Maggot by Storm 6, and that's already an established character. So we're doing a little bit of both creating new characters and bringing old characters, and we're mixing them up with like already established popular characters so that we can have that little mix and giving them that spotlight. So we are working towards that. So we're not just picking out the problems, we're picking out the problems and then trying to solve them and actively working towards it. There's this story that I think I heard a long time ago, and I'm not sure how true it is, but Scott Snyder said when he was working on Batman that he was spiraling a lot of times, but it was you that you helped him like recenter himself, like you gave him like a real a strong advice about, hey, careful how you behave yourself. This industry is like real small.
I like to help out DC from time to time because they need it.
So and there are always a lot of creators that when I listen to their interviews, they say a lot of things. Like I think Donny Cates says like anytime he has continuity issues, he asks you. Jed McKay says the same thing. I think also on Doom, Stanford Green said you and Will Moss, like you helped with the project getting greenlit.
Probably more Will than me, but yes.
Yeah. So and so many stories like that keep coming up, and it gets me wondering why do you have this so much empathy towards like comic book creators? because it seems to be like a unique trait, especially, and also when it comes to especially creators of color, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, currently you're probably the editor working with the most uh creator of color, from Torrin Clark on X-Men, Mateus Mananini on Storm, Evil Ewing, and everything. Like, is it a conscious effort, or is it just like, where is this all coming from?
Well, to answer kind of the second question first, I certainly put a value on having as wide a diverse bunch of creators working on the material as possible. But honestly, most of the time, it's not like I'm sitting there thinking I have to get this many. I'm not looking at people's backgrounds. I'm looking at what they're pitching me story wise. It's almost always about who's got the best idea. What who pitches me something that I think is cool or interesting or fun or I think could be saleable or I think will connect with an audience. So it's in setting up X-Men in particular. X-Men speaks to so many people of so many different types about their individual experience in a way that almost no other comic book series does. And so I felt like I need a rainbow of people who have different experiences and can come at this from different angles to service all the different people of all the different sorts. That feel this connection to it. And then beyond that, it's just get people whose work I like or think is good or I think have potential. I don't really, I'm not really checking people's blood type before I, before I hire them or before I try to help them out or whatever it is. I just do the thing that I do, which is, the reality is, Murewa, I don't like anybody. So consequently, I treat everybody the same because I don't like any of them. So it's really just kind of as simple as that. You say very nice things about me, and you've always said very nice things about me, and I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong because that would be dumb. But I don't know that I'm such a special a snowflake outlier as you may think. You feel good about me, because I was the guy that got you your first assignment at Marvel, but that's not really true. You got yourself your first assignment at Marvel by doing some work and getting it in front of people, in this case me, who could see it and go, that's kind of cool. I wonder what they do with this Moon Knight story that I have to fill. And that's it. People give me too much credit for this stuff. I'm not that smart, really. You can see. Watch this footage back. Not that smart.
Okay. Okay. I think you're being overly modest, but okay. Storm right now is getting a big push, and we can see it from the ton of adverts in the comic books. The quality of creators on the book, the cover artists, the colorists, everyone, and we as the fans, we are glad. Like, she deserves that push, but we're curious, like, as the conductor of X, why this push to now? And Marvel, why this push? And what are the results Marvel is trying to get? And what's and what results you're expecting? And what are the results we've gotten so far?
That's a big question, and I'm going to give you probably the least satisfying answer that I can, which is this all started because Storm was a problem for me, and the reason Storm was a problem for me is when I first got the X books, and I had to go, okay, what the heck are we going to do? How are we going to set this up? I very quickly sort of stared at the core ideas of X-Men and broke it into like 3 parts. And those are the 3 books that are called X-Men: X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Exceptional X-Men. And if you strip away all of the specifics that people are doing and just get down to what does that book do, I think it's the three pieces of what we think of as classically X-Men. And the reason that Storm was a problem was I couldn't put her in any of the three books because she was such a big character and such a powerful presence that if I put her in X-Men, she's not following Cyclops. She's taken over that book. And if I put her in Uncanny, she's not following Rogue. She's taken over that book. And it was honestly a huge, a difficulty for me at the time because Storm is such a popular character, a huge figure in X-Men, and I couldn't like sideline her. It was sort of. I also didn't love. I mean, I loved the work. I think the stories were really good and really interesting because I like his work. But Storm spent a good chunk of the last 5 years on Arakko on Mars, and that's kind of out of sight, out of mind in a way. And so, again, it was, I do all my best thinking on the train because I got a long commute every day to get into the office. And somewhere, one day I thought, well, okay, what if she wasn't in X-Men? What if I put her on Avengers? Which I couldn't do at that point because I'm not editing Avengers, but I could go talk to Will Moss and say, hey, Will, what would you think if we put Storm on Avengers? That was helped by the fact that Jed MacKay is writing Avengers and he's also writing X-Men for me, so I feel like I still have some coverage there. They're not going to go off and do some crazy stuff with Storm that I'm not going to want to do or whatnot. And the more I thought about that, the more I liked it. The idea that this is a character, she's been around in the Marvel Universe for 50 years. She's more than capable of standing toe to toe and on the same level as all of the big heavy hitters of the Avengers, Captain America or Iron Man or Thor or whomever the hell. And that's a good place to have somebody. There have been X-Men that have been on the Avengers before, but mostly the sidereal X-Men books. I loved Uncanny Avengers and I did a lot of issues of it. And there were a lot of mutant characters on it, but it wasn't Avengers, it was Uncanny Avengers, and somehow it still feels like it's not the same thing. On the main Avengers, you're pretty much, if you're not Wolverine, you weren't there. And some of that was because the Avengers office could never really get access to a lot of those characters because obviously the X office wanted to use their characters. So this was a rare case where I was willing to go, hey, would you be interested in having Storm on Avengers? Because I think that could plus up her profile and sort of elevate her when you think of like who are the most popular female characters in the Marvel universe. Who is, and I wouldn't normally put it in these terms, but who is Marvel's Wonder Woman? Who is Marvel's icon female character? It's kind of Storm, and so it's weird that she's not there standing among all those other characters. And Absolutely. From that, it was a really easy thing to go, well, shit, she should have a book. We should do it. We should do a solo book and put her forward as a headliner and use that as kind of a 1-2 punch to try to see if we can get this to stick in the same sort of way that, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, we went, no, Carol Danvers isn't Ms. Marvel anymore. Carol Danvers is Captain Marvel. And that's it. End of story. No more of a sidekick or a second rater. Put her on the front line. And so that's what this is all about. And it was just kind of me solving that problem, or trying to.
That's a very good analogy. Is the way that Marvel made a conscious effort to make Carol Danvers an A-list character in the universe. I talk about this all the time. What is the definition of an A-list character for me? You have to have a bibliography of comic book work. You have to be in cartoons. There have to be toys. You have to be on a lunchbox. You have to be in a movie. You have to be in a television show. Storm kind of checks each and every one of those boxes. She's been around 50 years. I think the only thing she hasn't done is a live television show. But other than that, she's checked every other box. She's one of Marvel's oldest black superheroines, the first one being Misty Knight and second being Storm. There is absolutely no reason that this time period, 50th anniversary is next year, that she should not be considered an A-list character and be treated as such with that super Marvel promotional glow up. And I applaud you guys for making this effort. I really do, because it's overdue. It's overdue. And welcome.
Well, thank you. And again, now it all comes down to like you guys and the community at large has clearly been very supportive and out there really, really banging the drum and really going, yeah, Storm, let's get behind this. And that's
pre-order.
That's honestly what we need. You want to make this a reality, we got to make it a reality, and the way to make it a reality is to make it fiscally successful.
Mm-hmm.
The issue of Avengers that brought Storm as a member, we promoted it like crazy, but the orders on it, numbers on it jumped way up. So there's clearly something there. But it really is going to be, the audience who decides this stuff, because they always do. I can try anything I want. I'll throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall. But as good as I might feel about something, if people don't show up to buy the comic, then they don't show up to buy the comic, and it doesn't matter how much I love it. It's going away, because at the end of the day, got to sell comics, got to keep the money coming in, got to keep the lights on.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely random, off the wall, not even slightly tangential, random thought of mine, Tom. A villain I'd love to see come back, go up against an X-Men in any of the X-Men books.
Mm-hmm.
Moses Mangum.
Moses Magnum, good character. Not to spoil anything, but maybe you get your wish.
Tom, you keep trying to impress me, and wow.
I think I've used, or people working on books that I've worked on have used Moses Magnum over the years more than anybody else. We used him in Avengers when Kurt Busiek and George Perez were doing it. We used him in Deathlock when Dwayne McDuffie and at that point a crew of very good fill-in artists, were doing it. I'm pretty familiar with Moses Magnum. Again, not to say anything, not to spoil anything, and it's always possible that stories will take a left turn that I'm not anticipating, but you might get your wish before too long.
That sounds like a...
This is a blackcomiclords exclusive.
Throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
All right.
In the spirit of breaking news, is there like any big news or any big reveal that you can give to us that you haven't revealed anywhere else? No AIPT, nothing, just here. Anything, any new project you're working on as the conductor of X?
Wow. I don't think there is. Obviously the easiest place for me to go here, Murewa, is what stuff do we want to spill about Storm, because we're actually here. It's tougher for me just unilaterally to spill something from somebody else, because
you can spill about Storm, no problem.
Tom, go ahead and spill it. Look, no one's watching us right now. It's just a voice.
Yeah, I know better than that. This will be a Popverse article by tomorrow morning.
Popverse doesn't even know we exist.
That's about to change. But cripes, I'm trying to think. I guess I could say that, and this isn't really much of a spoiler. It feels more like promotion than anything. So sorry about that. But we've got the one-shot Time Slide coming out in December, which is the latest version of last couple of years we've done Timeless.
Right.
And this year we're doing it as Time Slide because it's a little more X focused, because I'm still doing them, but I'm now doing X stuff. So there's a whole lot of hints and Easter eggs and stuff that's coming up in the future there, including we did we dropped in a very mysterious and hopefully very intriguing to people timeline of the future of the Marvel Universe, stuff that we see is going to happen over the next 12 to 18 to 24 months. And so there's some stuff buried in that would give you some hints and some clues and would make you either excited or maybe nervous, depending on how you feel about some of this stuff. And so like that's a good book to look at. It comes out like at the very end of December, so it's like the last book of the year, and it sort of tees you up really nicely for 2025 and a bunch of cool stuff that's to come.
Two things about that book. One, it's got my man
Hi,
Bishop,
Lucas.
which I'm very excited about because I was going to have a bone to pick with Marvel and your predecessor on the X books about why my man Bishop has been sidelined in the post Krakoan era. I was upset about it. Then I saw the announcement, so I'm cool. I'm chill.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll tell you exactly why. Because it wasn't just Bishop; it was Cable and it was a bunch of others.
Yeah.
As an X-Men, as somebody that's read X-Men on and off over all the years, I think X-Men gets a really regular rap as being kind of impenetrable to people. Like they don't know where to start, and there's so much canon and so much backstory and so much history. And so again, when I was setting my table for we're going to restart the X books and we're going to have a beginning of a new era, there are a lot of characters in the X world that come from alternate futures and parallel Earths and are alternate versions of characters that are already there. And there's no way to explain any of that to somebody that doesn't already know it easily. So I said, from the start, let's just take all those characters and for the moment, put them off to the side and spend our time initially going, we need to reestablish the mutant metaphor, what it means in our new world, what our various outlooks of our various characters are like, because it's confusing enough explaining who all the, basic mutants are. And then once we've got the ground laid, then we can start to bring in these more complicated characters, one or two at a time, when we can devote the space and the time to explaining who they are and boiling them down to some kind of understandable essence. So it's not like there's anything wrong with Bishop as a character, but his biography, starts with born in the far future and was a cop for the XSE and has a dead sister who's a hologram and came back to the past and now there's nothing in that as a human being that I can connect to. I need to, have the time and the space, and Time Slide is the first step in that of going, okay, who is Bishop as a character, and what is there about his story, his experiences, his struggles, his conflicts, his journeys that have something to say about at least some portion of the audience, because I'm pretty sure very few of my readers were born in the future.
Feel free to give an editorial mandate that we are to never, ever reference the bad years of Bishop when he was evil and trying to hunt down a baby and kill it.
Oh, God.
I will not miss that storyline at all.
I completely understand that, and I will warn you that it's at least referenced in Time Slide because that's a story about Cable and Bishop, and that's at the center of the fact that these two guys just don't like one another.
Well, Tom, you're going to have to make it up to me somehow, personally, by going into the past and bringing back to the future something that's important to me, to Choro forever. I don't care what the X offices say. These two need to be together. It's Bonnie and Clyde. It's Romeo and Juliet. It's Scott and Jean. It's T'Challa and Ororo. I need for them to get back together. I know you don't have a comment on this, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Well, I guess I could say that they're sharing space in Avengers, so they're actually in the same comic at the same time again for the first time in a while. So there's that. On the other hand, that's not who Storm hooks up with in Storm 3. Look, a spoiler. A secret spoiler I have given to you, an exclusive little something that nobody else knew that'll be on Popverse.
This is a Black Comic Lords exclusive.
So
No. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Speaking of the Storm book, let's get into it. But before we do, let's take this short commercial break and talk about something that's important to the success of this series. Dr. Wizard.
Comics are different. Those things cannot be returned if they do not sell. Okay, so that means that if they buy 10 copies of Monica Rambeau Photon and nobody buys it, they eat that money. And your local comic shop is, the margins are very thin, right? Times are hard for everybody. And so what that means is that it gives comic shop owners incentive to be very risk averse, right? And so you could order a bunch of Batman and you know that every month people are going to come in and buy Batman. It's often characters of color, new characters, lesser known characters where they're like, I don't know, this could be good, but if I put this on my shelves and people don't buy it, I lose money. And I'm sympathetic to that. That's a real assessment that they have to make. So the way that we avoid that is you go in and you pre-order. So Paul goes in 3 months before the comic set comes out and says, hello, I would like to pre-order Monica Rambeau Photon #1. I'm not going to wait till it comes out. I'm telling you now that I want it. And at that point, they're like, okay, let me go ahead and order this. And in the comics world, that is the sale that counts. By the time you come into a store and purchase a comic book, that sale does not count. I know it is ridiculous. It is very silly. That is the way it is. The sale that counts is when the store orders it from the distributor. That is what they are counting. And so what that means is that when you go in and you pre-order things, it actually gives that store confidence. Like, okay, Paul said Paul's going to be back and spend his $5 on this book. So we're good. If we order this one, we know it's going to sell and we can pay our rent. We're not going to be eating this cost this month. The best thing to do is your subscription or your pull list where you go in and you say, I want you to put these in every month for me, right? And then they will set that aside in a box.
Message.
Pre-order Storm for its success, please. All right.
Okay.
Antoine.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had some things to say, Antoine.
Questions?
Oh yeah, my question. Well, really it was just one, and I think that I've asked this before, but what is the likelihood or the possibility that we might get a first ever Storm annual issue? That's the biggest for me.
I think it's not impossible. At the moment there's not one on the schedule yet, but we haven't really worked out annuals for 2025 because we're still at the end of 2024. And again, the thing that will make it more likely is if Storm sells really, really well, because our sales department will go, hey, why don't we do a Storm annual and count a few more of those lovely dollars. Some of it too will depend on like what we're doing with annuals. What's the story that runs through them, and does the character or does the title fit what the need is? But again, we're going to have I think we have the first ever Storm #5 or Storm #6, one of them, because she's had limited series up till now, but not really an ongoing series. So right there, that's new. And so doing a Storm annual would be the first actual Storm annual. Mm-hmm. She's been in annuals before. She was in one of the, I even can't remember what we called it, but the fight annuals last year where she fought Iron Man.
Champions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's been in annuals and things before, obviously, but she hasn't been the headliner on those.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the question, but as much as anything, it's, if you show that there's a hunger out there for it, and that hunger is backed by actual cash money, that you catch more flies with honey that way.
Yeah, this is true. So, kind of piggybacking off of that, just from your personal perspective, how do you feel about the response to the Storm series so far and how it's been doing review-wise or sales-wise?
I'm very happy, but I'm very happy pretty much with all of the X books. It's honestly, it's too early to tell. 2 just dropped. And I tell everybody, like, our numbers for the first issue come in and they're always great. And we always like throw a little party and celebrate. And it's like, that's always good. It's always terrific to have that, but it's how much is it selling with number 3? How much is it selling with number 4?
Yeah.
Because that's really what you're talking about. That's really where your audience is. And trying to grow it from there is much harder because, people complain all the time that, you keep doing all these restarts on these new number 1s and things, but the answer is that's when people show up.
Right.
It's so hard to get people to jump in with number 26 or even number 9. So, wherever we're doing, around 3 or 4, that's gonna tell the tale in a very real way. Did people come out? Are they buying? Are they continuing to buy? And then, if they're there for 4 but they're not there for 7, same thing, and so forth. Nothing succeeds like success, unfortunately. And we put out 70 books a month. I'm sure DC puts out probably about the same number, and Image puts out a whole bunch, and there's a bunch of Dark Horse books, and like there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of everything else in the world, movies to see and shows to stream and concerts to go to, and whatever your jam might be, music to listen to. So you've only got so much time and you've only got so much money. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard getting something to stick, which is a long way of going. I don't know if there'll be a Storm annual this year, but there could be.
Okay. I mean, I think that's completely fair. So my last question would be, as far as, and like you said, there have been a couple of Storm miniseries. We did have one Storm ongoing that went to issue number 11. So everybody's
okay. So it's 12. I got to get to.
It's 12, right?
Yeah, it's 12.
It's 12.
Yeah,
so we're all like hyperventilating a little bit about
volume.
So
volume 3 went to issue 11. That's the
Yes.
longest Storm
Yeah.
series of all time.
Okay.
Volume 2 actually made it to issue 6.
Okay.
Storm has never had an annual.
So when do you all, as a team, make the decision to say, okay, because I know we heard that we're getting 6 and a little bit and some more issues. So when do you all kind of like green light a third arc? Is it like after you guys kind of see the numbers for 4 and 5, and it's like, okay,
usually yes. You're constantly looking at numbers and things, and the books that are, I call them perennials, like the books that have been around forever. There's probably no question we're going to be publishing Uncanny X-Men next year because we've published it for 50 years, and the chances are it's going to do well enough. We're probably going to publish Amazing Spider-Man. Everything else, depending on how new it is and how long it's been around and so forth, it all kind of depends on what's the trajectory. How many copies is it selling? How expensive is it to produce? Like what kind of talent do you have on it, and how much do they cost?
Yeah.
What's the profit margin on it? And is it time? If it's getting into what seems to be a danger zone, you got to make your choice. And if it's either you end it, or you find some way to refresh it, or you restart it again, or you do something to shake it up to get people paying attention and back in the door again. And, we try all of those things, but everybody will tell you to do all the ones that are not end it. But the reality is, and I've been doing this a long time, so I promise this is true, it is so hard to turn a book around that's beyond a certain point. Like it almost doesn't matter unless you're going to throw out the entire creative team and everything and just effectively do a number 1 and just call it number 8. And at that point, you might as well call it number 1 because that's what you're doing. So it's not easy. And that's why, everybody that comes in, kind of proselytizes about, the support that we've been shown on Storm is great. You guys have been very vocal in your enthusiasm for it and in spreading the word and making sure people know about it and sort of out there campaigning for it. And that's excellent, and that's a big help. The real question is what happens, on the days when the rubber meets the road. If there are a lot of copies of Storm on shelves because shops ordered them and not as many people bought them as they thought would, their numbers on the next one are going to go down, and that's that leads you to where you're going. But it's always like a rolling thing. It's not like there's a day of the month every 22nd we check on all this stuff. Our sales team is constantly monitoring what are we selling, and we're constantly looking at where are we on the margins, because there's a certain amount of money every book needs to be able to make in order to justify its existence and help to keep the lights on. And so you're always facing that. It's the sad reality. If you're working on a comic at Marvel or pretty much anywhere else, you're kind of living with a sword over your head, because as soon as you slow down your tap dancing, it's coming down, because the audience does not have time to put up with your nonsense. There's too many alternatives.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any more questions?
So far, so good.
No, that was actually it for me. I thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, let's jump into.
Do you have any questions for us, Tom?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I think I got a pretty good sense of this over the last hour or so. And I'm going to have to start wrapping this up on my end. I know you're about to go in and talk about Storm, and Murewa is more than capable, I think, of handling that. But I got to get up again tomorrow morning and make more books. So I feel stupid saying this when Murewa was up at like 3:30 in the morning doing this, but I do need a certain number of hours of sleep every day.
Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you. An honor. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for answering our questions. Appreciate you tremendously.
Thanks. Thanks so much for the welcome and everything. Thank you, everybody who had questions in the chat and the comments that we didn't get to. Sorry about that. I talk a lot. And please don't take any tweets to see from the Black Comic Lords account personally. Just know it comes from a place of love about these characters. For sure. All right. Have yourself a good evening, and hope to see you again soon. All right.
Yeah. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
All right. So Storm, Murewa, I hear you got a little book out. Just hit the shelves yesterday. Why don't we go through what we learned in issue number 2? You mentioned last time that Storm is going to have a variety of outfits that you and Lucas were working out. Shout out to Lucas Warnock. I saw him in the chat somewhere.
Yeah, and I saw Alex too. Shout out to both of them. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, guys. Excellent work. Tremendously.
Hopefully one day we'll have you here too as well.
I think, please bring on next episode. We talked about this, how Storm had this scene where she's literally running on water. Because why? She's a damn goddess. That's awesome, man. I love this panel. I never get tired of looking at this panel. Speaking of panels, I can't get tired of her seeing her do. She's flying super fast, curls up into a ball, and sticks. I mean, look at these. Look at the heels. You can see the heels when she's running on the ice, right? She throws that into my man's chest, and God knows what speed. I mean, we mentioned she's a goddess, but we tend to forget that Storm has hands. If she's not throwing knives that she's got stored all over her body, she can just throw hands. And the fact that she's willing to cave in my man's chest with her heels on her stilettos, still looking good, still looking cute. Shout out to Lucas on this. This is beautiful. Did you give him direction to specifically make the image like this, or is this Lucas?
Both. I mentioned it being a drop kick, and he was able to make it work.
A double drop kick. A lot of energy in this shot.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the purpose of having this scene right here with this captain and his discrimination towards Storm.
It's multiple layers as always. Number one is to remind us that there's ramifications for the things that happened in episode 1, just to keep touch that we're not, even though most of this story doesn't happen in Atlanta, we're not just wiping it away. We're still going to revisit all these things. So we have this, and this is also something that we face if that you are a member of a minority or anything, where the actions of the few you're judged based on the actions of the few, basically. So it's and also in storytelling, it's also something that you use for your protagonists. When your protagonist is punished for doing good, it's something that solicits empathy. So it's multiple layered, and it's something I really wanted to touch on and visit in this story. And a little shout out, like I had to put there's this way that we package water in Nigeria called pure water. It's always in plastic bags, so it was nice that Lucas was able to draw it here. Nigerians that read the comic liked it a lot. So I was like, it's pure water, and it was very nice.
Then we have the next scene where she is going to this hospital, Night and Day Hospital.
Yeah.
The Night being Night Nurse, who is a longtime Marvel character. For those who don't know, Night Nurse is a character who tends to superhumans. Usually she's depicted in a clinic in New York where beat up superheroes or villains, for that matter, may come to her, and she will attend to their specialized needs. So she's formed this this hospital with a very sketch character, Dr. Day. What can you tell us about Dr. Day?
He's unseen.
I love the fact that this scene has been sparking a lot of controversy online, and I'm really happy to discuss it. And it's hilarious because, okay, let me explain where Dr. Day is coming from. Okay,
please.
Number one thing is I've been gradually adding a lot of Krakoa elements in the Storm series, and a lot of people are not noticing them, and it's the pro Krakoa fans that are complaining about them, and it's very, very strange. It's when we had the Storm Sanctuary, and they're like, oh, Storm is a segregationist, she's living in this high and mighty place, what about other people? And you're like, this is the exact criticisms that Krakoa got. That, the X-Men said they are for everyone, that they protect everyone. Now they've secluded themselves with the mutants. What about the less privileged? What about humans? What about all these things? So it's like the pro Krakoans are the one criticizing the Storm Sanctuary. Same thing here. I just gradually introduced, one of the things that people liked about the Krakoan era that Jonathan Hickman said was that he wanted to introduce interesting stakes. And by introducing interesting stakes, you have to take away boring stakes. And boring stakes are like things like, a character just dies, cheap death, and it was by introducing the 5, where there's the resurrection protocol. And I just introduced basically hospital for the mutants. So there's no longer, this illness, nobody can treat it. we just created a hub where no matter what's wrong with a mutant character, we have Dr. Day that can either solve it or connect you to somebody in the Marvel universe that can solve it. So instead of the 5, you have the Night and Day Hospital. It's also secret, just like the 5 were. It's secluded. It's not in New York City where everybody can reach. It's in Arkansas. So it's secluded in this mystical place. It's providing everything that we had with the 5 here. And we get the criticism of, people don't see it, that's the role that the hospital is playing. So that's one. And the second part is the X fandom, and also in the comics, the X-Men always criticize the Avengers in the comics and the Avengers fandom of something. It's, where were you when we're going through trials and tribulations? And the Avengers are like, dude, we were saving the planet. The X-Men, they don't care the fact that the Avengers were saving the planet when Nimrod was at their doorstep, when they were facing Mr. Sinister, and it's about their own personal struggle. So here too, you have Dr. Day that's saying, I was not on Krakoa. I was a mutant and I wasn't on Krakoa, but you didn't help me. And every X fandom was saying the thing that, what about the bigger things that the X-Men were doing? They were on Krakoa, they were providing medicine, they were doing all these big things. Like, how do you expect them to remember the small things? And it's like, this is the exact criticism the X-Men always give the Avengers. This is the exact criticism the X fandom always gives the Avengers fandom. I just gave you the mirror back, and you're saying the exact same thing. So it's so strange that I basically just gave the mirror back of what the X fandom says about every other fandom, and they didn't notice. Dr. Day
I honestly
is an
didn't.
X-Men fan.
I didn't think about it that way.
Dr. Day is basically playing the role of X-Men in that place, and Storm Avengers. It's basically just that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, if you're an Avengers fan and you read that scene, you won't have an issue. But if an X fan and you read that scene, you would have an issue, because you're used to being the minority in the situation. You're used to being the one that, you were treating the bigger picture, but you forgot about us. So you're not used to being the one now accused of that same thing. That, why you were focused on Krakoa, on the bigger picture, on selling these big meds or anything, you forgot about the little man. So, and it was just very funny listening to all the comments and everything. It was basically a mirror to X fandom itself.
Damn, man. You got me rethinking this whole thing. I was going to give you a bunch of crap tonight, because I'm like, damn, I hate this Dr. Day dude, but you maybe view it in a completely different light, because I had not thought of it like that.
He's saying everything the X-Men says to the Avengers. That's exactly what he was saying.
I remember the conversation between Cyclops and Captain America. Where were you when mutants were dying in the streets? Avengers never showed up. You guys.
I was like, we're saving the planet. Same thing here. It's like, where were you when I was doing my hospital? And I'm like, dude, we're saving Krakoa.
Right. Where were you when Genosians were getting killed by the millions? Where were the Avengers? They always deal with everyone else's big problems, but not small problems of mutants. But it hadn't occurred to me there may be some mutants that might feel that way about the X-Men, because here it is, you've got this utopia and you're focusing just on yourselves. What about the little guy?
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
And if I could add, also, we have a really unique opportunity here with this conversation. This is one of the reasons that the Avengers brought Storm on. We're interested in having Storm on the Avengers anyway, to have that voice, so that we don't continue missing the little people. Maybe we can learn how to be a bit more pragmatic, because now we have someone who's been on the other side to say, hey, wait. This, from my perspective and my experience as being a mutant, I don't know if this is the best way to go about that. And we're probably going to see some of that going forward with the teased Avengers versus X-Men, note my quotation marks, that's coming up, because it's setting up a very unique storyline. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's why we can tell this kind of story in this book, because Storm right now has been an X-Men and is an Avenger. So that's why we can tell that kind of story here, where we can tell the whole big picture minority thing and see how it works. That how far do you go with the minority thing? To a minority group, there's also a sub-minority group, and it keeps going lower and lower and lower and lower.
All right. So another controversial panel from this scene with Dr. Day. I love this picture that he's holding. Is like, look, the reason I got beef with the X-Men when we built this hospital, she's like, I've never even heard of this hospital. Yeah, you had it because Tony Stark was there, Reed Richards was there, Dr. Strange helped us out. I mean, you even got my man Blue Marvel. Thank you for a Blue Marvel reference. Blue Marvel's always on milk cartons as to where's this dude. Thank you for even just a little cameo. And Shuri's there, so obviously even Wakanda was down with supporting this hospital. And I know you love Shuri. But having her say, all right, well, on behalf of the X-Men, I'm gonna take off my Avengers hat, put back on my X-Men hat. I'm going to give you the ruby from my mother and her whole lineage. I think there was a collective gasping and grasping at pearls across the Storm fan base. She did not just give her mom and them's heirloom brooch to this random dude who's quite frankly rude and is undeserving of something that's so iconic that has been with her since issue 1 in her X-Men run. Bro, I hope there is some type of Indian giving is, I think that term, bad term. Like he's got to give that back. Like that's where are you going with this, Murewa? That ruby cannot stay in that man's hands.
Okay,
this is unsatisfactory.
Okay, to give a little behind the scenes thing. Originally, that scene, it was supposed to be a blank check.
Okay.
It was supposed to be a blank check.
I could have rocked with that.
It was supposed to be a blank check. But when it was time to illustrate it, Marvel came back, rightfully so. And they're like, it's going to come off as Storm paying him off. And you would see that, and I saw that sentiment online too. A lot of people saying that, this guy is corrupt, he's just looking for a bribe, forgetting that he just said like few dialogues before that they treat mutants for free. And immediately they forgot all that, and they said that, he's trying to look for a bribe, it's like a private hospital looking for money, and it's like, dude, they treat mutants for free, forgetting all that. So at the start, you're like, okay, why can't she give something of a prized possession, something like a ruby, since not all the heroes actually give money, some give their services. Like Doctor Strange gives his services, for example, not his money. He doesn't have the money. It's Iron Man that has the money, that gives the money, and Moon Knight. Some of the other guys give their services. Like Reed Richards is not rich either, but he gives equipment, and stuff like that. So the ruby has abilities, special abilities. So maybe that's why she's donating that they can use that, or for what thing. So I'm planning to still pay it off, but that was the original reason. But definitely will make it seamless in the story.
It should have been, if they're going to do the check, they should have zoomed in on the check and simply said, how did it say Bank of Wakanda? And it'd be like, it's a blank check from Wakanda. It's from my ex-husband. Charge him. That's what you should have done. But, all right. Well, I mean, look, I'm going to rock with it, man. I'm going to rock with it and see where you're going to go with this. But the fandom was not pleased with Storm losing her ruby. That's basically her sidekick.
Yeah.
That and her crown are basically her sidekicks. All right. So, but there's also in the scene this envelope because the doctor's making a referral.
The signs on the envelope. That's all Lucas Warnick. I asked him what they mean. He didn't reply. So maybe when it comes on the show one day, he's going to tell us what they really mean. So as far as we know, it's a real spell, and we are all under it. But I think the last one. But I think the last one looks like the sign on Voodoo's forehead.
Oh, yeah, the V. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Lucas Warnick is a practitioner of dark magic, and he just pulled out these symbols. Okay, Lucas. Obviously, there is a price to pay for the skill that you have, and now you have let yourself out of the bag. You have outed yourself as a dark magic practitioner who made a deal with the devil to be as good as you are.
No wonder the art is that good.
Yeah, clearly. All right, so he outed himself. All right. Speaking of magic, Storm in this scene is going seemingly super. How fast is she going here?
Supersonic.
Storm can go supersonic.
Yeah.
And in space, she can go damn near the speed of light.
Yeah.
Every issue, she's got to level up. I'm just noting that to all y'all out there.
Yeah, we keep revealing different aspects of her power, how she uses them, things like that. But it's because our power of flight is not self-propulsion. She's still using the wind to push herself. It's if she's traveling, like I said, horizontally, it still takes her a while to get to this speed. So, for example, I think when she was leaving the hospital, she had 6 hours to leave. But by the time she got to Haiti, she had already spent like 5 hours on the journey. So it's not like she got supersonic speed immediately. She was gradually maybe at the speed of a flying jet, gradually till she got to the supersonic speed.
All right. Going back a little bit, she's broken the sound barrier before. It's possible, yeah. It's just not something you see that often with her character. Hype Style says his no prize explanation is that Aurora was actually anticipating the possibility of having to do this, so she swapped out the real family ruby stolen from a poor oligarch in South Africa. Storm
since she's been a thief before, so she knows it still,
And she's got money. It stands to reason she might have had, a fake version of the ruby. I like that. That's a good no prize explanation. All right. Now we have this panel of Storm. This is a beautiful, beautiful splash page, by the way. Shout out to
Lucas Warnick killed it.
Yeah, this is a work of art. This should be like a poster or something. I don't know. I'd love to see the painting of this. The original art on this is incredible. What is this space whale? What is that? What does it symbolize?
Okay, because the narration before this page describes a magical spell called Ile. And it's a popular saying in Nigeria here. I think there's a little charm that you have, sometimes called a bante, and somebody whips it around, and then they hit you with it. And when they hit you with it, they say the word Ile, and then you stagger and you must hit the ground. So and I wanted to use that spell. So, and I'm like, but in a Marvel style kind of thing. So, and I wanted a strong visual representation of what it means. So it's like when the word Ile is spoken, something of immense weight, comes upon you and forces you to fall down, and so I wanted something like, I love orcas, and they're very big, they're very terrifying animals, top predator in the ocean. I wanted the markings, the African markings and the pattern on African artworks, I wanted it to have this cosmic thriller vibe, to set the tone for the series and everything. And so I described that to symbolize that. And that will be what will weigh on Storm down. And that particular spell, we're going to see, we saw this spell like voodoo cast the spell on Storm. Yeah. In Storm 7, we're going to see Storm cast this spell on someone else. And it's going to be very, very badass when we see it. And we're going to see the form it takes. So it's crazy stuff. And but while she's under the effects of this spell, we see a voice speak from inside of her saying oblivion waits. And that's part of the mystery. What's the voice that is speaking inside of her? Because we from issue 1 we saw that, to me my eternal storm, as eternity already fused with her and trying to come out, giving her warnings that oblivion waits, or is it oblivion that has hijacked that process? What's happening here? And that's the mystery there. So that's why that balloon is very unique, like, oblivion waits. And by issue 5 of Storm, the title, oblivion waits no longer, so it's a build up to that.
I like this comment by Trell Harder. He says, I immediately thought of the Akanti when I saw this.
Nice.
I thought that was cool. Space whales. Wow. And prior to the scene, you mentioned the spell from Nigeria, the Ilue, and I didn't show the panel here, but she's flying over Nigeria when you're having this dialogue. But previously, she was at the hospital, which is in the United States. Why? And she's heading to Haiti. Why was she flying to Nigeria? Why was she over Nigeria?
No, she wasn't. What the narration was saying is that in the beginning of this story, in issue 1, she was in Nigeria. She flew over Nigeria, and now she's flying. The story didn't want to give it away that she was going towards Haiti, because if you knew it was Haiti, you would know it was Dr. Voodoo, even though it was in the solicitations. But for people that don't read the solicits, so it's saying that the way the universe works, the way things happen in cyclical nature, that in the beginning of this story, she flew over Nigeria. But right now, something is going to ground her. And the spell that is going to ground her is going to be from Nigeria. So it's that cyclical thing. That she flew high in Nigeria, but the spell that will ground her is going to be from Nigeria. Hence the spell Ile. And then it now goes on to say, but even though the spell is from Nigeria, the caster is not. It's not from Liberia, it's not from Nigeria, it's not from Dormammu's dark dimension, but the caster is from Haiti.
One of the things that you indicated is that Nigeria specifically has like has a respite of dark magic, right? Do you plan on introducing any characters from Nigeria that are in general, but specifically ones that do dark magic?
I'm not sure yet, because even though I have everything planned out, there's always room to like change things up. But I'm always very careful to I don't want to be that writer. Those writers where if they're from Australia, suddenly everything they're writing about at Marvel or at DC,
Right.
everybody is Australian and speaking in Australian accents, and it gets tired real quick. So I just want to have just a little taste here and there, here and there, here and there. So
I'm trying to think of what Nigerian characters exist in the Marvel universe. I can't think of anyone.
Temper. Oh yeah.
Temper. Okay. Yes. I forgot about Temper. Yes. All right. Cool. And then here on the final page, as you mentioned, the solicits mentioned Dr. Voodoo. I was waiting the entire issue for Dr. Voodoo to show up. When she went to the hospital, I immediately thought, "Oh, Dr. Voodoo's in the hospital, not this Dr. Day guy." And he shows up on the final page. Now that Tom sort of let something out the bag about romance with Storm in issue 3, and Dr. Voodoo is going to be in issue 3, I'm wondering if Storm's going to be having some type of romance with Dr. Voodoo. If that happens, I'm going to point out
with it. That you're cool with it.
Look, if
Panda's
that
chick
happens,
just got snatched.
that's look. Let me understand. That will officially make Dr. Voodoo the usher of the Marvel universe. Mr. Steal Your Girl. This dude was stealing Monica Rambeau from Blue Marvel. He's stolen Scarlet Witch from Wonder Man, Vision, whoever she was dating at the time. And now she steals Storm from T'Challa. And I'm not mentioning Craig, corny ass Craig, because I don't care about him because he's irrelevant. That will officially cement Dr. Voodoo as the usher of the Marvel universe, Mr. Steal Your Girl himself. I don't know what's with Dr. Voodoo. He's got some type of black magic. I'm not going to comment on it, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm not just putting it out there. What can we expect in issue 3? What should your fans be expecting?
I can't say much about the romance part, but Dr. Voodoo, like I said, this story is going to be like the labors of Aurora Monroe, the Eternal Storm saga. And it's going to have, almost a structure similar to the hero's journey, and when you have the hero's journey, you have the mage, the mentor, and Voodoo will be the one to play that role, the role of, the person for the mystical side, it will be Voodoo. And in the superhero side, it will be Iron Man. But Iron Man will be the irresponsible one, the irresponsible mentor you don't want to follow too much.
No, not at all.
So, and seeing that clash and everything. So it's going to make for some interesting dynamics as we move forward. I'm starting to script. I already outlined the second volume, that's 6 to 10, but I'm now scripting them now. And the dialogues are getting real funny now and everything, because we've built up all these characters in volume 1. Now we're clashing them against each other now, so it's really interesting and fun now.
All right, so touching upon the mysticals, I apologize to everyone watching this. I forgot to include the panel. You mentioned Storm's magical line. I guess it's dialogue from Dr. Voodoo himself. And he talks about Ashake and Aisha and the name with the B, I can't remember. Baba, I can't pronounce it. But he mentions 3 of Storm's ancestors that show her magical lineage. And I wanted to, just for those who read that and didn't know what the heck what they were talking about, is touch upon that. Here is a few pages from the book called Marvel Tarot, like tarot card. And it talks about Aisha from 10,000 years ago. Aisha of Balobudu, 10,000 years ago, was a sorceress. And in fact, she was, I believe, the sorcerer supreme 10,000 years ago. That's one of
I think the
Storm's
second or third.
ancestors. Right.
Yeah.
And then there was Ashake. There's two Ashakes. There's an Egyptian Ashake, and there's another Ashake who's also from Storm's line. The Ashake from 2,000 years ago was a warrior queen. It's a little bit contradictory. Christopher Claremont wrote this story in a book called Epic Illustrated 12, whether she's from East Africa or South Africa, but she's a warrior queen. Not a whole lot about her. She's, magical side. Why the Ashake from Egypt talks about her is a sorcerer supreme as well, who actually traces her line back to Aisha, and Aisha traces her line to Agamotto, which is crazy. But what's interesting is that the Ashake, the warrior queen one, her last name, she was Ashake of Murewa, which is Storm's kind of last name, Aurora Monroe. So just to give people a background on Storm's lineage. And here's Aisha from Scarlet Witch. Do we lose Maria?
Say something happened.
I'm here.
Ah, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Power outage, Nigeria things.
I see. Well, just wanted to give people the background of that. You can look all this up on Marvel database, the Marvel wiki sites, to look up those particular characters. But that being said, what can we expect in the next issue? We've got Brother Dr. Voodoo in this issue. What can we expect on a magical side?
Number one, my favorite of Storm's ancestor is Ashake. And you are going to see Storm being referred to a lot as descendants of Ashake. So we're going to see that come up more often. The Agamotto parts was listed more instead of Aisha because of new readers, to make it more new reader friendly. Because of people coming from the MCU and everything, Agamotto is easier for them to recognize than Aisha. Because if you Google Aisha, you might probably start seeing other characters before you start giving. So Agamotto is easier, and it's also, but for people that have been reading comics for a long while, this was able to establish that Storm is actually a descendant of Oshto. And we all know that Ashake is also a worshipper of Oshto, has been blessed by, our line has been blessed by Oshto. So we've always wondered that what relationship do they have? So now it's been established that it's because she is also a descendant of that goddess. And
does that make Storm and Thor cousins?
Yes, so that now makes Storm and Thor cousins. So that's very cool. This is a very cool thing. So if for anything, one of the reasons why you should just keep buying issues of Storm is we're going to be having cool things. It's not just going to be a fun read, cool things, cool reveals, cool relationships. This is what solo series do. It's not like team books where they will explore Storm in one episode and then for like another 10 episodes, they focus on other characters. This is all Storm. Every issue is going to be some epic thing happening to Storm. So even for collectors, for everything, this is this series to actually follow if you want to know more about the character and everything. So so she's a distant cousin to Thor now, and which is going to play a vital role kind of in this in the second volume, because I can give let me give the title of episode 7 of Storm. It's called Serpents, Salamanders, and Storm Gods. So that's a little hint. So if Storm Gods are going to get involved in this story, having one that is related to you and your side will be of help.
Huh. Serpents in ancient Egypt weren't they the symbols of healing and medicine? I don't remember. They symbolize something. But would it be a spoiler to say what is the purpose behind that name? What's the meaning behind that name? The title?
Yes, kind of. Can't give
All right,
much.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But Oblivion 2 is a serpent, so there's also that.
You mentioned issue 7. She's gonna do a spell. When's the first issue? Because we're collectors here, so we always want to see first appearances and first big things. Where's the first issue in this run where we can expect Storm to throw out her first spell, like a pure sorcery, no mutant power whatsoever, pure sorcery spell? 7. Okay. So you heard that here at first, everyone. Issue 7 will be a comic book key. Storm's first sorcery spell. That's awesome.
This is a Black Comic Lords exclusive.
So you got to pre-order the issue, right? I'm just telling you. Now, speaking of upcoming issues, we already have the covers for Storm number 3. Rogue is showing up.
2 weeks.
It's only in 2 weeks. Good. So it's not as long a wait as we had to wait for issue 2. Don't ever do that to us again. By the way, don't make me wait two months for this book. That was a tough 2 months. I mean, it was kind of painful. So thank you for making up for us by having issue 3 come out in just 2 weeks. What can we expect with Rogue? Is X-Men showing up? What's going on?
Yeah, she's going to New Orleans, which is also the base for Dr. Voodoo and also the base for the Uncanny X-Men. So we're going to see her interact with Dr. Voodoo and the Uncanny X-Men. And so, yeah. And a little drama is going to ensue that is going to move her into the hands of Dr. Doom. And then from there, from issue 4 and 5, we're going to have the One World Under Doom tie-in issues. So we're going to see Storm deal with Doom as Sorcerer Supreme and as he tries to take over the world.
Wow. It's going to be part of that new Doom storyline. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's epic stuff.
We have some preview pictures, which Marvel has allowed you to share. What are we looking at here? Can you give us any details on any of this? Storm looks like she's at the top.
Yeah, I think people want to take some screenshots, so maybe we should So this is, I think, page 3 of the page. She's surrounded by what is called death sprites. And okay, I think I can give this. They surround beings that are close to their death day. When you're soon to die, they surround you. So that's all I can say. So this is Storm surrounded by death sprites, with art by Lucas Warneck, colors by Alex Guamares. As in, they went crazy with this issue. They went all out. This is a gorgeous issue. Each issue has been getting better and better and better and better. I think that's why Lucas was like, please no spoilers, because he knows how hard he has been working on each of these issues. Like, please don't ruin this. Like, he wants people to get super excited every time they get into any of these issues. Like, you saw how issue 1 was very good, but you saw how 2 turned very cinematic, and how the mood kind of changed. Issue 1 was a Marvel book. Issue 2 was a Storm book. It became this, So, and that's what you're going to start seeing. If you've ever wondered what will a Storm book look like, this is what we are trying to establish. That everybody knows what a Spider-Man book is supposed to look like. Everybody knows what a Venom book is supposed to look like, what a Daredevil book is supposed to look like. That's what we're establishing with issue 2, 3, and so forth. You're going to start seeing what a Storm book is supposed to look like. You're going to start seeing these cosmic thriller vibes, the mystic vibes, and all this thing. So it's going to be really, really fun. So this is the first image, and then you're going to see the next one soon. Yeah, and this is in New Orleans with the X-Men, sparring session with Wolverine. And as usual,
what
she's going
is
to be changing our threads.
What is Storm eating up in Storm Sanctuary? Because she's putting on, I mean, she's got the Michelle Obama arms right there.
She's lifting
working out.
baby hippos.
Yeah, man. I mean, she got some guns.
Yeah, like in episode 2, we saw that she's the only one in the Storm Sanctuary, and she's walking there alone. She's the one cleaning up after all the messes. She's the one taking care of all the animals herself. Of course, she's going to be ripped.
Yeah. All right. I see you, Storm. I see you, girl. All right. So this is the cover for issue 4.
Issue 4. Yeah. Issue 5, we have Oblivion. It keeps getting crazy and crazy. I just asked Tom to see the cover for issue 6. I can't share it yet. Maybe in the next one, but that is crazy.
This is crazy. Mateus Manahini is he's already a phenomenal artist, but every issue he's doing is better than the last one. The cover he did for this issue 2, that's just gorgeous. Like I am captivated by that cover. This is just like taking it to another level again.
If you thought his covers for Gods was sick, his covers for Storm beats his covers for Gods or anything.
It's not even close.
This is hands down.
It's not even close.
Admittedly, because when you start hearing the big names on all the different books in the X office, I was a little scared. Oh man, I hope we're not going to be like in the dust of every other book, But by issue 3 and the things I'm saying in issue 4, guys, we might be the best looking book on the shelves from cover to cover.
Yeah,
it's getting crazy right now. The colors are sick. The art is sick. The covers are sick.
And the story is sick.
And everything is we're going for more landscape view, so it's going to have this cinematic feel. And I'm happy that in issue 2 we're already getting comments like that. People are already saying that this feels like this is not. Someone said this is not a comic. It feels like I'm watching an episode of my favorite show. This is how we want it to feel like. And you're going to keep getting that dose. It's going to feel like a show. You're going to love this. Exactly, an animated series. And that's how it's going to feel. In the art of issue 2, you're going to see all those, the way you see all those backgrounds in all those high-level animated shows. You're going to feel it, the way like Blue Eye Samurai kind of thing. You're going to feel that vibe in episode 3. Kind of painted backgrounds, and it's lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the things, let me go back a couple slides here. You mentioned this, the death sprites, right?
Yes.
That's what you called it. I pulled this up from earlier. Here. This is from an old Black Panther book. You know me, I'm a Black Panther. I always going to reference Black Panther book. So Zawa Varby is talking about a price that Storm has to pay to save her husband, Black Panther, who was dying at the time. And he says, let me make this large here. He says, the gods do not intervene in the affairs of the mortal world. Life and death are the natural order. Nothing more to attempt to cheat death. To cheat death is to aspire to godhood. There's always a catch, isn't there? And it's the way of the universe. And I've been thinking about that. Storm's on the verge of death. She's dying from this radiation. She's seeking help from she's tried scientific Western medicine. That's not working. Mutant medicine's not working. She's now seeking sorcery and the spiritual as a way to heal herself from these wounds. And I see this picture with the death sprites, and I'm wondering if this is part of the process for her to ultimately die to be reborn in a new form. Is that kind of where you think we're going? That's spoilery, isn't it? All right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Okay. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. So that was my bad. My bad. Let me move on. You had some interesting fans. The fandom has popped up and given fan art. Antoine, why don't you address this?
Well, we've gotten a lot of beautiful, beautiful art pieces from the fandom in and of itself. And Murewa and Dotan as well thought it would be a good idea because, we've showcased some of their art before, but they thought it would be a good idea to showcase some of the great art that some of the fans are doing as well, because we've been getting a lot of really good pieces. This one, and then I think there are a couple others that you guys have as well that, are incredible, that could, hold their weight as variant covers or what have you. So wanted to give, some of these other artists also an opportunity, not just to show their work, but to show their love for the character and some really, really cool things that they've been doing with the art.
Now, when we say fan art, are these just regular folk? Because this doesn't look like, when I think fan art, I think about myself like taking out a legal pad and doodling, and this is not that.
Like some of these fan arts, I love them so much. Like I store them on my computer. I use them as mood board for myself, for my own work. Like it's so nice that they are inspired by our work on the series, and also we are also getting inspired from their own work. So please try to follow some of these accounts. Try to give them a follow, encourage them. Hopefully they might become your new favorite comic book artist one day as well.
Yeah. And shout out to Atticus_Moth for this piece right here. This is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Next we've got, oh my God, this from Rambutans.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I've definitely used some Rambutan artwork as mood boards.
It's absolutely crazy artwork.
Like
Fantastic.
his use of colors and everything is crazy. I always use them as mood boards. Very inspiring stuff, especially when I want to get in the mood for the whole cosmic thriller kind of thing. His work really gives this cosmic thriller vibes.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they've got this very dark background, you see the dark clouds behind her is the only thing you can see in the darkened skies, and her hair emulates those clouds, right? And then you see the contrast with her very dark skin, which looks absolutely beautiful with the gold. It reminds me of that.
Just shines.
Yeah, man. It reminds me of that Malcolm X speech where he's like, our skin looks like gold in comparison. Like, that's beautiful. And this is by Seye Art.
Seye, yeah.
Seye Art. This is also another beautiful piece.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent out there, man.
Absolutely.
Shout out to the fan art people, man. Keep tagging us on this stuff, man. This is the more promotion we can get on Storm, the better.
Yeah. So as you're also helping us push the project, to push the work, so we're really, really grateful for everything.
All right. What is this one?
Wow. Eternal Storm and Eternity.
Croco Core.
This is a more recent one. Yeah.
I don't think I saw this one. Wow.
Yeah,
I love this pattern that you guys are doing with the dot on the forehead and the face makeup.
Yeah.
I dig that, man. I dig that. Are we going to see more of this in the future in this run?
Yeah, Storm is going to have 4 looks in this series. We have the Brutal Storm look, that's white and gold. We have the superhero look, that's the Avengers look, that's black and gold. And we have the Eternal Storm look. She's going to have the face paint for that. And then we have the Armored Storm look. She's going to also have the face paint for that. I've seen the Armored Storm look. It's sick.
I love the face paint.
Like she has some spikes that comes out of her hair like this. So if she gives you an headbutt, you're gone.
Wow.
Like the Armored Storm look. Like she looks like a freaking tank. Like she can face anything in that, and it has Wakandan vibes and all those stuff. It was designed by Shuri.
Oh.
You really got me hyped for the series, man, Maria. This is. Thank you very much for all your hard work, and you and your whole team. Please extend our thanks to your team, Lucas, Alex, everybody. Tom, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you, Antoine. You are in the grassroots. You in them streets, my friend.
Yeah,
you in them streets promoting this. I appreciate it, man. I love to see it.
Thank you. And it's been such a great reception also. People have, we started the Storm Sanctuary Fund, which essentially is us sending out books to people who may not be able to access them for a number of reasons. Some people just don't have, the means of the funds right now because, we're living in times where everything is expensive. People have bills, there's real life, but this is something that we can do for other people, to bring a smile, to bring some kind of joy, something that they can kind of lose themselves in, because I think a lot of us love comic books because it's a way of escapism also. We can get into something that we love and just kind of lose ourselves in that for a moment. So the Storm Sanctuary Fund is about giving everybody that opportunity, no matter what may be going on. If you're in need, I just ask that you let us know and we'll get it out. Now, we've been a little delayed just because number one is sold out everywhere so much, but the second printing comes out next week. So we'll have plenty of copies and we'll be sending those out.
I did not know there was a second printing coming out next week.
Yeah.
Now I have to look. Does it have a different cover, like a special variant cover?
It has, it is the original, it's the Jerome Opeña cover, which was originally the gold foil, but they're using his original blue colors, because originally it was blue. The lightning was blue. They changed gold for the gold foil. They went back to the blue coloring for this second printing. So it's still the same thing, but it's a little different, and it looks really good. It looks really good.
Sweet. Where can people that want to help contribute to the Storm Sanctuary do that?
Well, that's the funny thing. I haven't been asking for contributions. I've really just been taking it on myself. But if someone feels led to do that, they can hit me up on my Twitter handle, which is what you see up there. And, we can talk about it. Because, like I said, I haven't asked anybody for any money. This is something that I just wanted to do out of my heart for, the fandom. Because we really do. We're like family. And we try to look out for each other. But I also want people to have an opportunity to enjoy this book, because it's an amazing series, and it's just getting better.
That's wonderful, man. Anything we can do to help, let us know.
Thank you.
All right, fellas. Until next time, right?
Oh, we should do the trivia, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So, guys, like we did last time, I've just got 3. So we're gonna do it. We could do it real quick. What issue? Well, let me do this first. All right. So I've got the 1 in 100 variant. I don't know why his name is blanking on me. Somebody knows it, and I do know his name. But you guys know who it is. Ji-Hyung. That's it. Ji-Hyung Lee. 1 in 100. If anybody wants this version variant, we'll send this out to you. So the question for this one is...
Whoa, pause.
Uh-huh.
Am I allowed to participate in this?
No.
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 How dare you?
But listen, if you don't have one, I have a few, and I can send you one if you don't have it.
Word?
Yeah, if you don't have it, I can. We'll talk later. But that's because you're our host and you've made all of this possible. So,
My man, thank you, appreciate it. I don't have that one actually.
Okay, yeah, we can sit. We'll get it to you. We'll talk. Yeah.
All right.
So the question for this one is, what issue did Storm serve as a midwife and helped birth her godson Missionary? You guys might know the name of the story, but and if somebody, I'll be a little lenient on the issue number, but if you know the name of the story, then let us know if we can see in the comments if anybody gets it.
Are they supposed to put the answer in the comments?
Yeah, if they can.
So whoever gets it first, whoever posts the answer first.
Let me see.
Waiting for the answers to come in.
Did nobody get it?
Everybody's pulling out their phones and Googling. Don't think I know what you're doing.
I was trying to make it a little challenging.
Venan says 187.
It's Life, Death 2, which is correct. It is Life, Death 2.
There you go.
So we can go with that. So, Lady Kerrigan, you can reach out to me on Twitter, and we'll get this one out to you. Okay. All right. Next one, really quickly, we'll do. I've got this really, really beautiful by Stephanie Hans, 1 in 25 variant for Storm number 2.
Wow.
And this question is, which issue did Storm and Cyclops battle for leadership of the X-Men?
Oh, I know the answer. Come on, y'all should know this.
And I've actually got a couple of copies of this, so there'll be opportunity for somebody else to get this because I've got one more question. But this is the first one.
Y'all should know this.
All right, this is a big one.
Put your hand down. Tell me what to do, man. Don't tell me what to do.
Oh, he got it. Trey got it. 201.
There you go.
That's right. Okay. So last one for the question. And this is for another Storm 1 in 25 by Stephanie Hans. Who first taught Storm how to properly control her powers and work in harmony with the world? Who was her first mentor in that way?
I think I know the answer to this one.
I'm thinking. I know that the real Storm fans are thinking. Okay, yes, that's it. Yep, that's the correct answer. All right, so reach out to me and we will send you that copy. And then finally, as we did last time, there is a gift that I want to give out to someone who's new to the Storm community. I think he's here tonight. Frederick, are you here?
I see Frederick.
Okay. So this, he's been a really, really staunch, adamant supporter for the new. There he is. For the new Storm series. He's new to the Storm community, and he's expressed to me just how much he's appreciated being welcomed by everybody. So we wanted to just give him a little gift. And we know how much he loves Storm and purple. So we have the Virgin variant for Storm number 2.
Nice.
That we're going to send out. So just send me your information, Frederick, and we'll get this to you, okay? And that's a wrap for me, guys.
That's what's up. Antoine out here doing the Lord's work, man. Doing the goddess's work.
The goddess's work. There you go.
Doing the goddess's work. The work of the Daria. Appreciate that. All right, Murewa, any parting words for the fan?
Nothing except anybody has any Q&A from the audience or anything.
Oh, that's right. We didn't answer the question. Dr. Wizard, where is our questions from our audience? All right, how long will Lucas be drawing Storm?
For as long as he wants.
As long as you guys buy the book.
Yeah,
exactly.
Next question.
That part.
Oror's eyes have a purple tint when doing magic. Huh. Is that a question?
It's good to talk. No, it's a question. Yes. Her color is blue naturally. It turns white when she's using her mutant powers. It does change color when she's using magic, but I'm not going to give the color away.
Okay.
And it's not purple.
That's a very good question, though. It should be.
It's a more badass color. It's a more badass color, but I'm not going to give it away. You have to see it yourself.
Magic should be either green or red, but all right, that's it. Will any Iraqi mutant that's Aurora worked with, like Korra, appear in Storm? I love Korra. Burning Heart.
I'm not sure yet. It depends on how many issues we get. But let's see.
All right.
But there are plans to explore the Iraqi.
Is Jean dancing with Eternity going to be relevant for this Storm and Eternity fusion dance? That's been all over the internet.
I've been meaning to like make a post. Maybe someone will make the post for me. In the Phoenix book, Eternity is this cool guy. Is this very approachable, nice guy? With Jean is like, let's dance. But in the Storm book, he's going to be an asshole. That's going to be like, yeah, F you, Storm. So, so the Eternity in our book, you're not going to like him. He's not going to be like, yeah, Storm, just be, nah.
Why would he be so rough with Storm? That doesn't. I guess we'll have to read the book and find out.
People don't like black women, I guess.
I wasn't gonna go there, Murewa. That's why I said let me just read the book. I wasn't gonna go there, but that was going through my mind. Damn, Jean Grey and her privilege.
Did you see Oblivion in the back in the Phoenix book also dancing like, oh yeah, like he's going to kick everybody's ass in Storm's book.
This is gonna be a rough upcoming 4 years. That's all I gotta say. All right, when did this hospital even get built? Still doesn't make sense to me. No rich X-Men tossed a few million for just the PR. They were in Krakoa.
The hospital was built during the Krakoa era.
Yeah,
which all the mutants were all focused on building Krakoa up, and not many of the X-Men characters were X-Men at that point.
Yeah,
a lot of them were running companies, were running this, were running that. Even what's the name of this babe? The White Queen was not even an X-Men during the Krakoa era. She was in charge of their import, exports, and all those stuff.
Yeah.
The people in charge of the X-Men was Jean Grey and Cyclops, and they are not rich. So yeah, there was no PR. There was no PR for the humans. It was basically their first message to the humans was, you have new gods now. Yeah, so it was about establishing a nation then. It wasn't about helping a small hospital in Arkansas. They had bigger things to deal with. So that was when we did as much research as possible to look at the solo series of each of those characters and the pictures, and look at the early stage of the Krakoa era, and looked at the costume that they were in their solo series, and chose those costumes for that picture.
Before we move on, there are not enough likes on this video. Please take a moment right now. Let's take a pause. Like the video. Just hit the like button and share the video. If you're watching this on your phone or something, share the video over your social media. It doesn't matter what platform. Just share it somewhere. And if you're new to this channel and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That way you'll know about this show in the future. It costs you nothing, and it helps our algorithm to allow us to do this more in the future. Thank you very much. Next question. Isn't there a Mariah hospital during Krakoa? Also, where is Dr. Cecilia Reyes? Please, next time she is sick, and if as much as possible, no more. Well, Dr. Reyes is in
She's with X Factor.
X Factor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's busy with X Factor.
We're not talking about Mariah anymore.
Yeah, Moira. So yeah. So.
She's persona non grata. All right.
Like,
Next question.
Yeah, Storm picked a place the Avengers suggested, and the Avengers place is Night Nurse, so that's why she went to Night Nurse and Dr. Day's hospital.
I had a question. On the Storm Sanctuary, it floats. It's above. It's in the air. How fast does it travel?
You know, I thought about that.
Too.
Does it teleport,
Not-
or does it like physically travel?
It physically travels, not fast until something happens. That's when it travels fast.
Until something happens. Will something happen in the future where we get to see how fast it goes?
Yeah, something happens in Storm 6.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. I hear you. I hear you, Murewa. Is Storm still going to get that pet panther? Now, I forgot. This is my fault. I forgot to ask our producer to put that picture in the lineup for tonight. There was a picture on the internet
Image by Dotun.
by
Mhm.
Dotun. I didn't know if it was a real image or not. I might be able to see if I can pull it up. Do I have it? Yeah, here it goes. All right, let me see if I can stream this here. You really can't see it all great, but it's a picture of Storm with this panther, and has a letter from that seemingly says, I don't know if they added this part. It says,
No. It's Dotun added Dotun has the letter.
Dotun did this letter?
Yes.
It says, to my queen, my goddess, the one who requires no religion, no worshippers, only the worship of one man. My boy T'Challa got game. T'Challa is making efforts to win back Storm's love, and his gesture includes gifting her a pet panther named Shadow. Official preview for Storm number 5. Is this indeed part of Storm number 5, or somebody just making that up?
You know, it's not part of Storm number 5.
Somebody made
but it's a promotion art piece that Dotun puts together.
Okay, all right. So just to clarify for people, it's not an official thing, although it should be.
It could be.
That does raise an interesting question, though. If we're going to do romantic gestures on behalf of T'Challa, you know what would be cool? If all of a sudden Storm comes home after a bad day at work battling evil, she comes back to Storm Sanctuary and she sees a package and she opens it, she pulls the ribbon open, and inside is her ruby. And it says, from T'Challa, don't worry about the hospital, it's taken care of.
Nice.
And she gets her ruby back. I'm just saying. I'm a romantic. Do you have any ideas for original future foes, villains for Storm to fight in her solo? Does he?
Would do you think she's going to use the magical spell against the Storm 7? Of course there is.
Of course there is.
for her to use a magical spell, that means she had used her powers and her powers failed, and then she had to rely on magical spells. So yes, there's going to be a badass foe that powers will not be enough.
Oh, interesting.
Are we ever going to see the young mutant she saved in issue number 1 again? And will we get an explanation on why he was inside of a nuclear plant? He'd be a great guest at the Storm Sanctuary.
Yes, and yes.
Storm going to have refugees at the Storm Sanctuary, like people?
Yes, during a major, just like she said in issue 1, the Storm Sanctuary is for emergency purposes. It's always there. If there's an emergency, let's say in Japan, where there's an earthquake and people are homeless, then she houses them for a temporary while, for a short while they rebuild, and then releases them back. So it's for temporary sanctuary. So yeah, so it's So it's about when will something bad happens that she has to house people.
All right, Murewa, any chance of Arroyo's potential future kids pop up in your book like Scott's future kids always pop up in 616? Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna even say nothing. Go ahead, Murewa.
I don't know yet. I'm not sure yet. It all depends on how many issues we get. Right now, I'm still trying as much as possible to get new readers. That's why the story is written the way it's written. Like you said, like a TV show, so that new readers, it's approachable, it's easy to comprehend. That's why it's heavy on narration. Because if she uses a power set, something, the narration can describe this what happened so that you don't get too confused, bit by bit like that before we now start complicating things. So that's why I'm reintroducing all these characters. Dr. Voodoo could just show up, but we had to describe who Dr. Voodoo is, establish him before we now start having this journey with Dr. Voodoo, so bit by bit. Like she's not even hanging out with the Avengers yet. Like we're gradually introducing them. So yeah, before we start going to future timeline thing, yeah, we might get there, but we see.
For Murewa, any chance we'll see Aurora's father's side of her family again? I don't think we've seen them since Reggie Hudlins was on Black Panther. I think you answered this in the last episode. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what I said last time was that we'll see Aurora's father.
Yeah.
So
right.
Which is technically Aurora's father's side of the family too.
Yeah.
Wait, pause. Did you say we're gonna see Aurora's father?
Yes.
Her actual. He's not dead?
I'm not saying.
You just did. Did I miss something? All right, I'm just gonna let it go. Will we be seeing more Nigerian influence in Storm's magic or other influences like voodoo, hoodoo?
Yeah, since I'm trying to go with more of a dark tone for this story, and I love dark magic, so we're going to be saying that. So even if a demon shows up, it's not going to look like a traditional Western demon. It's going to look like an African demon. So stuff like that. So you're going to see African influences. Like you said, we're trying to establish what should a Storm comic look like. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. So that long after now, if there's going to be a Storm solo again, they have materials to work on.
You're making the definitive definition of a Storm comic. I love it. How soon can we see her armor look?
January 2025. That's when the press release will go out.
All right.
The issue will be in March. You see it in action in March, but the press release will go out in January.
There was this tweet about her ancestor. Why is it in Scarlet Witch and not in Storm book? Or are we seeing that soon?
That's because Storm is so badass that our ancestors are showing up in other people's books.
I like it. Next question. Can we talk about the You Share Blood with Agamotto line? We've always known there's something up there about a bloodline.
Yeah, we've discussed this. Yeah,
we discussed
this. It's because they both descend from the goddess Oshto, and so yeah, which also now creates a link with Thor as well. So
they're cousins.
Yeah.
Can Tom and Maria talk about how far they will write and editorial plans into book at a time?
For Tom Brevoort, even though he would not want to admit it, they plan as far as 2026. That's with the guys on contract. Those are the guys with exclusive. The guys with exclusive can plan as far as 2026. The guys working on this, like the series, it says the series like Amazing Spider-Man, like Uncanny Xmen and stuff like that, they can plan as far as 2026. Because there are events that are going to happen at the tail end of 2025, 2026 that they have a rough idea of. It's not, they're not usually set in stone, they can change, but they have a rough idea. For some of us, we can plan as far as much as possible. We're given the room to plan, but it's usually 5 issues ahead, because if the book is not selling enough, you are given a 5-issue notice before it's cancelled.
Right.
So I saw some people saying that, oh yeah, Marvel made this promise about every ongoing is 10 issues. They said they would try to make every ongoing 10 issues. It's not a promise. If the issue 1 debuts at number 100 on the chart list, is not getting to issue 10. So the first, you get your 5 issues first. When issue 1 performs well, you get the next 5 issues. So I personally had planned 30 issues, but when it comes to like official plan, I still have the 30 issues plan with Tom this thing, but official one that's paid for kind of thing is 5 issues. So now that issue 1 came out and it did well, I'm now officially allowed to like start scripting 6 to 10. So I'm doing scripts 6 to 10. So by the time issue 5, by the time issue 5 comes out and you see the reception, I can now start writing issue 11. So by Oblivion Waits No Longer, we would know if we break Greg Pak's record.
Yeah.
Because that's the record we're trying to break. We want to break Greg Pak's record. So by Oblivion Waits No Longer, we're going to know if we break Greg Pak's record.
And that means you must pre-order Storm issue. Just keeps hitting at home. Jeffrey Thorne's in the house. He says, unless it's been retconned, Storm's parents both died in the bomb attack. I guess we're going to find out. Maria's dropping little hints. It's kind of strange. Is Aurora's paternal line magical as well? Could he be descended from Shango? Is basically asking, is Aurora's father's line, is he related to Shango? And I know that you mentioned, much to my happiness and joy, that Shango is going to be showing up at some point.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to read the book to find out.
We have to read to find out. I can't say much there. I don't want to reveal at all.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that. So here's the thing. That's why that question is kind of interesting. Electric Birdie says David Monroe is just an alias for Shango. So Aurora's last name is Monroe.
Thank you, Tom.
And Ashake, there's an Ashake ancestor who is from the people of Moreau. That's what I was mentioning before. So if we're saying Moreau and Monroe is somehow related, but that doesn't make any sense. Forget I mentioned that. He's African American. Technically, that's probably more of his slave master's name, so that undermines the entire argument. Forget I said it. I just now realized that. Anyway, David Monroe is to Shango what Thor is. Donald Blake is Thor.
That's Zed canon.
That would be weird. Everyone's assuming that Storm's father's alive, so that's interesting. What else we got, Dr. Wizard? Let's only do a few more because we've been on for a while. So we saw her closet, her gates, we saw her bathroom and her aquarium. What else do we look forward to in Storm Shank? Have we seen her kitchen? Can Storm cook?
Yeah, we're going to see her kitchen.
Can she cook?
We're going to see her kitchen. Yes, she can cook.
I wonder what Storm cooks.
She's going to cook for someone. We're going to see a kitchen, and the very exciting one that I can say is we're going to see the Storm engine.
The hell's a Storm engine?
the engine room of the Storm Sanctuary.
Oh, what does it run on? That's a good question.
Yeah, that mystery of what does it run on. You're going to see it.
Okay.
Between the Krakoan technology, her mystical side, and her power over the elements, there's a lot of potential as to what that thing could run on. And then she has an ex-boyfriend in Forge that could probably whip up something kind of interesting for her.
Yeah.
And when you see what it runs on, you're going to be like, "Oh, that's true! Like I should have seen this coming."
Yeah. All right. The initial pitch for Storm.
The initial pitch for Storm, it's I sent like 3 pitch Bibles, some that are character bases. I said, for example, I wanted Margot. I said I wanted Dr. Doom. I said I wanted Dr. Voodoo. There's some other characters that I listed, but since I haven't used them yet, I can't mention them. There's one I haven't used, but I can mention them. I said I wanted X-women. I wanted an episode where there will be X-women. The Milo Manara stuff. If someone is going to beat Milo Manara's sexiness, it's going to be Lucas Warneck. But when it comes to like the tone, I was like, I want to tell a mythic story. You know, the way I started the pitch was, oh, Storm has been an Avenger, has been an X-Men, has been a this. That's how I started this. But before she was any of these things, she was a god. And that's how I started the story. That's how I started the pitch. So it's basically that. And when it comes to visual language, Lucas Warneck's cover art was some of the examples. Jama Campbell, and many other stuff. So it's there are so many documents that you would call the initial pitch, and just know that we're thinking about a lot of things when we're thinking about Storm, and it's like there's a whole ass document about Ankara and stuff, about how she dresses and different stuff.
You have 2 comments here from iManifesto that I think deserve note. The first one is, she should have a sword knife room.
Definitely.
That makes absolute sense to me.
Yeah,
the amount
you'll
of
see that in issue 6 also.
I love this guy. Last one, Storm needs a personal assistant / stylist. That makes so much sense. What'd you say?
Maggot. That's Maggot.
That's me, Maggot? That's a big spoiler drop. Okay.
And imagine Maggot being your personal assistant. It's going to be terrible at that job. So
well, his little slug things eat everything. You can imagine, for terms of custodial work and cleanup after the animals, the maggots would be great for that.
But do you think Maggot wants to clean up?
No, it's probably wrecking everything. All right. So I think we're going to do that. We're going to wrap up at this point here. Thank you all for joining us in the chat, for watching the show. Again, please like the video. Just take a second and like the video. If you want us to keep doing this, we need your help. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Costs you nothing. And it helps us bring episode number 3, which is, what date is the next issue drop?
December 11th.
December 11th. So we'll be back here December 12th for the next episode of StormWatch. Any parting words from you, Antoine?
Just thank you to everybody that's been supporting the series. Thank you to Murewa for being bold and brave enough to take on such a gargantuan task, or what may seem like one. And thank you, Paul, for hosting us.
Well, it's not me. It's the Black Comic Lords. I'm just the dude that they asked to show up.
True. but you didn't have to. Okay, we're doing.
So
Maria.
thank you everyone. Thank you to Black Comic Lords. Thank you, Antoine. Thank you, Derek behind the scene, everyone. So, but what I want to tell everyone is some of the most successful books that we've heard. It's not about how many people started reading the book initially. It's not about the issue number one sales. It's about when you enjoy the book, you suggest it to other people to also read it. You know, people that you think they would like it, people that you think they would enjoy it. So share the book with a friend, share the book with a niece, with a nephew, with someone, you know. Let's all have fun with this. Let's shake the world, you know, and let's make Storm bigger than Cara Danvers, than Jean Grey, than every other female character out there.
That's what's up. That's what we leave with. Thank you very much. Black Comic Lords, we got you.
Thank you, everyone.